everybody, good morning and welcome back to Reaper Pro-Tips with me, your host Anne, and Disembodied Hands, Quindy, John, maybe someday Justin again, no idea. But anyway, sorry for the late start. My OBS decided it was going to hang up my entire computer, and there were several panicful moments where it would not fix itself. So, here we are, fingers crossed. Thanks OBS. No thanks OBS. It is indeed. It's a rainy day here. I'm happy. I like rainy days. This is the first real rainy day of this year, I think, because we've had so much drought. So it's very nice that we got some actual rain. Yeah, sorry for the yeah, I don't know. I think we'll do as much on her today as we can get done, and we'll see where she ends up. Turgeon? It is a Bob and a Julie. Yes. All right, Lysette. Let's take stock, shall we? So we're almost to the end of our first Bones USA model. So the front is looking pretty much complete except for the silver. We do need to do the silver. Those include like little buttons there, little buttons and clasps, buckles, and that little detail on her pouch. Looking at this, I realized I did not highlight the flower in her hair, so we might have to mix up some Icy Violet for that, along with some Kraken ink, which was what we used for our purples. Yeah, both flowers, I totally forgot. We need to finish the roots here. So we've got silver and roots, and when you are working on a complex model, there it is. It is wise to have a final list. When there's a lot of stuff on the mini and it's complicated, make sure you make a list. So silver and flowers in hair, because I've forgotten them so far, so I might forget them again. And then the sword blade on the front, which can be done at the same time as the other silver. And the only other thing I believe is the tree roots on the back. Tree roots on the back in the freehand. Tree roots, freehand. So I do this all the time. If I'm just busy, if my brain's overcrowded, if I'm working on a model that's complicated, that has a lot of little fiddly bits. And she's not even like a super fiddly bit model, but she's got a lot going on, right? So it can get easy to miss spots. Let's see here. Let's get this in focus. There we are. Yeah. So yeah, once I get toward the end of a model, I do make a to-do list to make sure that I remember everything. Because when you have busy lives, which most of us do, it's very easy to forget that. Now, that said, I have totally forgotten to grab my palette out of the dish strainer. So I'm going to grab that, and then we're going to start. We'll start with silver, because that's taking up the most room. 1 second. There we go. Happily, the dish strainer is not very far from where I am, and so getting the palette was not a big deal. Now remember, we're going to do Darius the blue after this model. We do have to do her basing also still. We have not done it. Up to you guys whether... I'm still trying to figure out, like, I really feel like she's in a forest and not on cobblestones, so this may be a re-sculpt this base kind of thing. I'm not sure if I want to do it on stream. I do like the model, so I feel like I do want to finish her, but jury's still out on the base. So I do have a bunch of big bases that I got for rebasing things when I was at ReaperCon, although a lot of them are too big for her. That's the problem when you want to rebase, like, using a pie plate is right out of the question. She's way too small for it. you never want to grab a base. And I've talked about base proportions in the past. You might be tempted to grab this nice big black base and do a scenic base on it. But in reality, this base is actually wider than the model is tall, which is not a good proportion at all. So you definitely, it would be a lot of boring ground to cover. Even with the best of landscaping, unless you introduced another figure, it would appear like a way over large base. You could somewhat counter the height proportion problem by putting her up on something, like significantly up, like this cap that she's on, which is the top of the grip thing that we got in the ReaperCon swag a couple of years ago. But it's still not ideal. It's just way too big for her. So a lot of people, I see that mistake a lot. They'll choose a super large base and then just try to, introduce scenery to take up the space. But scenery itself, just for scenery's sake, can be very boring. And so then it hurts the composition of their model. I hate flock, Fandrake. I never use flock. Never. Ever. Okay, with a qualifier, I have a mixture of flock, static grass, sand, and leaf litter that I use that is a very organic mix. That would be the fast do. It would also be like, it'd be like the super cheap do. Like, very little effort. But yes, if I just wanted to get the model done, it would be an option. But yeah, I find that like regular flock is just kind of like, it just doesn't look right to me. So I do like the way it looks mixed with a lot of other basing materials where it looks actually more like the kind of stuff you'd see, on the ground, which tends to be a mixture of stuff. So I do heartily recommend putting together your own mixture of flocking with a lot of static grass, some sand in it, and then honestly, I think I dumped a whole bottle of like oregano into it, and then I sprinkled some of those micro leaves too. So the seed pods, the birch seed pods. So it's got a whole bunch of different basing materials in there, which works really well just to make a beautiful randomized surface. And you can also put additional layers of glue to build it up into like mounds once the first layer is dry. So that's a very good thing to have in your toolkit. All right, where's my cloudy gray? Hey, it's appropriate for the day. But yeah, I'm not too inspired on a very elaborate base for her. And she is attached enough to her base that, although it is Bones USA and I could cut off the whole base, that would be an endeavor. And I probably would only do it with a model I really, really liked. Like I really had a good vision for the basing for her. And sometimes I do, right? With the half work, I had a definite vision for what I wanted her base to be. And so we spent a lot of time on that. Lysette, not so much. I like how the model has turned out, but it's not a model I'm inspired to do a big base on. And yeah, I mean, the thing is, right, this is the thing about Old Spices, guys. You're not really supposed to use them after they're, 6 months old, a year old, because they lose a lot of their flavor. So if you want to reutilize them, if you have an extra old jar of oregano, you can honestly just use it for basing material. I mix it with other things. But will it give you a slight oregano smell for a while? Yeah, for a little while, but then it loses that smell super fast. So, yes. Hello, Stefan's World. Hello, or Steven's World. I'm not sure if it's Stefan or Steven if you're in Greece. But hi. We are doing well today. We're talking about basing and why I don't really feel inspired to do a particularly showy base on this model, even though she's very close to done. We have to finish up our silver NMM today, and I need to make the tree roots on the freehand a little bit more solid and finish the flowers in her hair, which I totally missed when I did my little inventory just now of what I need to do. So I am on the west coast of the United States, so it's a rainy day out here today. Far away from Greece, very far away from Greece out here. It's got to be, 9-hour time difference? Never, Pendrake, never. The only reason she's on this one is that I was using the grip. I forgot the name of it, but you guys know the cool grip that came with the ReaperCon swag. And I always forget the name of the company, and then I lost my little, packaging. Because that's me. Oh, 10 hours. Oh, you moved from Vegas. Okay, cool. Alrighty. So we're going to mix up our highlight colors. And remember to always put a little bit of something in your gray. I think I'm going to add just a tiny bit of the Icy Violet to my gray today. This is a Sergio Calvo Rubio advice, but he always advises mixing something into your gray to make it not so dead. Because otherwise, flat gray can be very, very dead color. And you don't need much. Like, here, I'll show you how much I'm going to put in. There. So I'm just going to put in that little touch. To pick that little dry bit out of there. Oh, okay. Yo, you worked at night. Yeah. Yeah, I'm always in the morning. I'm going to get that little... I got a little dried bit of paint that got stuck in that. So I'm getting that out. Great. But yeah, when you use just black, white, and gray, flat colors with no other colors mixed in, it can look very like a black and white illustration when you paint, which can look kind of cool, but isn't always your goal. So, and it can make it look kind of dead. So keep an eye on that. Mixing in just a little bit of almost any other color will totally derail that from happening. Yeah, the little leaves worked, Agent Marvel. Game Envy, thank you. Game Envy hobby holder, right. Quidney's got it. But then I took it off of its hobby holder because it was like long and I'm like right on the edge of my table right here. So it's like, it wasn't quite convenient for streaming. So I just kept it on the cap. Everything's pretty flat where we are, Pendrake. They've been getting a lot of rain up in the mountains, the Santa Cruz Mountains. I could see the huge clouds of it hovering over the mountains yesterday when I took my walk. Because I actually do have a view of the mountains in Mountain View. It's crazy. Technically, if you stand on like shoreline, you can see both sets of mountains. You can see the brown hills on the inland side and the green mountains, the Santa Cruz Mountains on the outside. West and south. All right. Yes. Need to add some white into that. When you're working with such small things as these buckles, you really only need like a basic shadow and a basic highlight and a mid-tone. You're not going to have enough room to do blends. You just need to suggest where the light is coming from and that it's a metal surface. Usually that means a very sharp highlight. However, when we get over to the sword here, we'll need to do a little bit more blending. Yeah, we've had a drought here in California, Steven's World. So like this is the first rainy day that we've had in almost like 10 months, I think. Like seriously, it's insane. Like I guess we got some rain last winter, but that's it. Like I haven't seen anything since January. So it's been pretty rough here. Definite drought. Lots of other places have been getting a lot of rain. My parents live in Wisconsin, which is the Midwest, and they've got a lot of rain this summer even. Very wet. But not us here. And then I think I'm going to just go with a brown liner or a gray liner for my shadow on these pieces. Usually I like to use gray liner because it's easier to do a black to white blend with gray liner than it is with like a black. Hold on, I have to find it. I have blue liner. Oh, come on. Yes, I don't know where I stuffed my gray liner, so we may have to use... Yeah. Darn it. We'll have to use... I'm going to try to use... and I don't even have... Man, I'm just out of it today. All my liners have run away. I guess I'm going to use blue liner because it's the only thing that's sitting here staring at me. I could use pure black. Or actually, you know what? I've got Death Knight black. Let's try that. That's at least an indigo, which is close enough to Icy Violet, so I'll at least be sticking in the right kind of thing. Yeah, Vegas would have flooded away for sure. You can send us some of your rain. But yeah, I'm hoping this, since we got this kind of early rain in October, that we'll get a nice rainy winter and do some, restore some of the water on places that need it. So yeah, this will be a good enough shadow for NMM. So put Death Knight Black on your potential shadows for non-metallic metal list. Death Knight is, no, it's only in a fast palette. It's in the Gloom and Grave fast palette. It is not available as its own thing, Desparrow. However, the Gloom and Grave fast palette is full of amazing colors, and so is well worth the money. We just finished a model painted almost entirely with the Gloom and Grave fast palette. This guy. So he was actually finished with almost all the colors from the Gloom and Grave fast palette. Thanks, Stefan's World. Hey, it's just like being stubborn and painting for years and years until you get okay. That's all it is. I do try to get better. Like these days, I definitely try to get better. But yeah, these guys that I do on the Reaper stream, yeah, they're pretty. They're about my standard for 28 millimeter these days. Oh no, Gloom and Grave is currently out of stock. Oh no, it's out of stock because we've talked it up too much. Yeah, it was really, really, really dry. Yeah, for sure. Hold on. Man, I'm just like having trouble keeping up with chat here today. Okay, that was Angelica. Hey, Time Stitcher, thank you. 23 months. One more month and I'll have to sing. All right, I'm going to put Mr. Necromancer back. All right, let's get this going on. Sorry, a little bit scattered today. I feel like, it's one of those days where you just kind of feel like, your focus. It's kind of a squirrel day. Squirrel. Except I don't have any squirrels yelling at me outside my window today. All right, let's do the shading first with NMM. I sometimes will do that. Yeah. With buckles, it's really easy. You know exactly where you want to be because you just want a little bit of shadow usually on the underside of the buckle. You want to make a line there that interrupts the metal. Here and here and here. And here I don't have to. It's right up against the bag, although I certainly can emphasize that if I want to. And then we have to ask ourselves where our shadow is going to be for the long part of the buckle over here. And if I have to touch up some lining, now is a good time to do it since I've got a liner out. Yeah, it is kind of a foggy. Maybe it's the overcast, right? And I forgot to use I got a happy light and I forgot to use my happy light this morning because I was like all busy. So I'm going to put a shadow on the top of this because it's right under this buckle up here. Likewise, this buckle is right under this other buckle. A lot of buckles on this model. But yeah, I got myself one of those daylight lamps to help with seasonal depressive. And also just to I've never tried one, so I thought I would try one. I'm going to touch up this area here. And I have to say, it's very interesting. It's definitely had an effect on me. I try to go into such things with an open mind as far as will it work or won't it. So it's different for everybody. But the thing that I just noticed it really yesterday, and I was surprised, was that usually I power nap in the afternoons to kind of get my energy back. And I have not been able to power nap since starting to use the happy light. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of a shadow here. A little bit of a shadow here. A little bit of a shadow here. We'll see how that works. And then a little bit under this buckle here. Maybe one right here. All right. You really, when you're on tiny surfaces, you just want to alternate light and dark, light, mid-tone, dark, when you're doing the NMM. Try to get it roughly right, but I mean, it's such a tiny surface that as long as you get your highlights in the right place, you're usually pretty good. I will try that. Oh, Crafty Creative. Oh, no Reaper Live. Okay. I will be on my own channel. We will be painting this dude. Finishing this dude, hopefully. That'll be at 4 p.m. USA Central Time on twitch.tv/paintingbig. So I'm doing like spooky Halloween models, and I've had that the werewolf dude for a while. And I really want to finish him. So we're going to give ourselves a little bit of a highlight here. I will say my micro detail brushes are like dead on today. Like serious tiny highlights are us today. Whatever else I have today, or don't have, fine motor coordination, I have today. Thank you for the shout out, Quindy. Yeah, sounds like Reaper Live taking a vacation tonight is pretty good for people. That's good. But yes, if you want to fill time while you are making dinner or prepping dinner or whatever, come on over to my stream and hang out and help my numbers. I would really appreciate it. We'll be doing the other side. The other side of the Chibi Werewolf really is not painted much at all. So I'll be trying to make the other side match the first side, and also just try to improve both sides, because you can see he's just blocked in here. So the pants are the only thing that I was making progress on. So yeah, I want to put some work into Mr. Werewolf and get him done by Halloween. That would be nice. There we go. Little tiny highlights, little tiny spot white highlights. You always want to go up to pure white on non-metallic metal, even if it's just a tiny touch. It makes everything look a little shinier. Oh, fun for you, Quindy, right? Ben, you have a full streaming schedule to watch today, Crows. Do a little bit of a highlight. We'll try to get our highlight on the upper side of those little buttons, although really, unless you get super close, you're not even going to notice the placement. But we can definitely do that. And all of these little touches of white. On the buttons, I don't even bother with doing a shadow. Really what you do for little buttons and studs is you just kind of put a liner around them to make them stand out. And then when you go in with your mid-tone highlight, it stands out really well, like these little studs and buttons are. Hello, Lady Nim. Sup? I am indeed here. It is indeed an Anne. Kind of a foggy-brained Anne today. But not, I am an Anne. I am an Anne. Enjoying my rainy day. We'll see. I'll have to bring my rain jacket when I go for my walk. It's kind of, it's stopped for now, but it looks like it's going to be kind of intermittent throughout the day. I really love walking in the rain, so I am A for it. So on a little fox face, or whatever this little guy is here. Nice to relax on a Thursday. Yeah, that's true, right? So since the eyes are recessed, we want to put a highlight on the bottom. Whenever you want to suggest that an area is recessed significantly, you want to make sure the bottom edge gets lit up. I also want the top of the head done. And with NMM, you've got a shadow right under your highlight. So you want to put a shadow underneath that top of the head highlight and a little bit underneath the eyes as well. This is where the fiddly bits come in. fiddly brushwork. And again, it's such a small area that you don't really need to blend anything. You just need to make sure that you have contrast. And if we lose a little bit of our top highlights there, we can put them back in. I'm looking forward to the weekend. So I'm going to nerd out for a second. Reaper John, are you in the chat? And if you are, I'm totally going to ask you what you think of the new Path of Exile. Because they're changing a lot, and it sounds like fun. So for anybody else who plays Path of Exile, the new league starts Friday, and they're changing a lot. I don't think he is. Oh, both of them are on the same trip? Dang it. You know, Quindy, you should put me on friend at the Discord. Or we should, like, I tried to find your, I probably misspelled your name, but I was trying to find you on the Discord so I could, like, message you. Because that way when I have a glitch like I did this morning, I can let you know where the OBS or the internet are misfunctioning. Usually I tell the boys, but if they're both out of town, then that's no luck. Because Justin told me he was going to be out of town. But he didn't say he was going with John. So I messaged John this morning and got no response. It's cute, Twistedoma. Yeah, the fur babies tend to like to watch the brush move. It must move like a wild thing. There we go. So adding that under reflection, which is not pure white, but instead just a silver gray, helps make everything look like it's catching the light, which is the way that you get that non-metallic metal illusion going on. I may try to do the underside of these eyes too. Yeah. So that's a lot of detail to cram into one little place, but it does actually read pretty well, so I'm okay with that. It's best not to, like, get it to work, but don't, like, overspend time on the tiny details because, you know, you could be spending time on things that are more useful, so. You just want to get the appearance, the general gist, make sure it, like, looks good, but it doesn't need to be perfect. Oh, did you? Thanks, Quindy. Good. Yeah, just so I like to have, like, ways to contact the people running the stream just because, yeah, every once in a while my internet will be stupid. Or in this case, earlier OBS went into an endless loop where it would not load. And I was like, eek, crap. And I like to give you guys a heads up so that you can, like, tell chat it's just a brief technical delay and stuff. So yeah, cool. I will look for that friend request when we're done. That will be very handy. Thank you. Alrighty. Get all those little bits kind of picked out, and then we'll work on the sword. Boop. There. So many people, Smallish Sam, as I'm sure you well know, so many people overthink their hobby, and they stress out about it. And really, it's just like, just do it. And then, you know, if it doesn't quite look right, figure out why it doesn't. and then adjust it. And that's the biggest part of getting better at the hobby, is to do it wrong, figure out why it's wrong, key, and then adjust it. And in doing that, you get practice evaluating your work, figuring out what works and why, and what doesn't work and why. And that allows you to troubleshoot your work effectively, which is very much a part of getting better at anything you do. So learning well enough to be able to troubleshoot your work. Whether you are an artist or a writer or any sort of craftsperson or a programmer, it's all the same. That's the level of proficiency that you shoot for, is to understand what went wrong so that you can recognize it faster in the future. And eventually, you know it well enough that you just don't go there. Instead, you move on to some other snafu. There we go. So it's not as hard as you'd think to paint around this stuff, but you do need a pretty precise brush, and you need to thin your paint. I'm working with a pretty thin pale gray here. You can see my paint consistency there. It's pretty watery. It still has decent coverage just because it's got white in it. Pure white will do that for you. But I did thin it because I wanted it to be kind of a subtle, more of a subtle graduated line up the blade. We need to darken the roots down bottom. I don't want it really to fade fade as it moves down. So I need to do that. But I don't think I need a secondary color at this point. I don't, more to the point, if I did, I'd have to actually significantly change the freehand pendrake. If I wanted to put a purple something down here, I would have to erase, which means going over everything with white and then going back over it and then inserting the element that I wanted. If I was going to do that, I might have done it here, but then I would lose that pretty spiral. So right now, I don't think that I really need to. The other place I could put a purple accent is here, but then that's really close to the purple accent here. So, I mean, if I step out, remember, I don't want to draw a lot of attention here. I still want people to look at the little details around the model. Happily, this model has enough small details with all the freehand or all the runes that your eye does travel around the model. If I put more work into this freehand, then that's pretty much the only thing you look at. So I'm pretty happy with how it is now. Yes, I could have put a touch of purple, and if I did, I would probably want it right there. But I don't know that I want to erase and restart at this point. If you were doing this piece for competition, you might well want to. At that point, you might want to invest the time. But it's always a question of time investment and what your goal is for your project, right? So it is a good spot. Like, yeah, we could absolutely, because we committed a lot of purple around here, and then we didn't put any purple down there. Mostly because the design was so complicated. I just wasn't thinking that way when I first mapped it out. I was just like, I want to just get this down. Plus, I was really concerned that this was going to draw too much attention anyway. But once you get the runes and the sword in, you've got all that detail going on, it's easier to pull the eye up to where you need it. And I guess the accent colors do that, so... But yeah, you could do it. Absolutely. I don't know that I will on this one. But if I was doing a competition piece, then yes, I would absolutely erase, go back, spend the time to insert a color piece there for the accent color. So good eye. Do be careful though. You know, like I said, I was hesitant about the purple down here because I don't want to pull all the eye down here or it'll sit on this freehand and not go anywhere. So it's a balancing act, right? Make sure you don't put too much emphasis on part of the model that's not as important as the actual attitude and weaponry and gestures of the model. You know, passive things like cloth that are just hanging there are not the place you want the eye to sit. So be more subtle with your freehand if you do that. And make sure that you've got a good expression and good clusters of detail and color on top to make sure that it balances out. So you don't get yourself in that problem. It's also the problem with mosaic floors. And if you do one, you should look at glazing over it at the end to kind of bring it down. So I'm using the edge of my brush now because I want to just bring out the edge of the sword blade up here. And I'm being very light just in case the sculpt isn't quite as good as I need it to be, but the sculpt actually is quite good, or at least the molding. At this point, it's like sometimes you can mess yourself up because if you've taken off a mold line here, sometimes you ding the edge, and then trying to use the sculpt to pick up that really fine line can be problematic. So often it's not even that sculpt feature if the line is irregular, but a molding feature or even a cleanup feature. So then I can go and hit the back. And this is a very simple technique that I've always just called side brushing because you're just using the side of the brush. I'm using thin paint for this, but I'm using it like very little of it on the brush. See, there's very little of it on here. I can be very controlled with it. I can do little tiny lines like that with it, so I know it's not going to flow everywhere. If you can, the general rule is if you can draw a nice, tight, fine line with your paint, then it's not going to go, it's going to be uncontrolled. It's not going to make big drooling, it's not going to drool down the edge, it's not going to get out of control. If you can do that line, it's in control for this kind of technique. This is another technique that's often used on hair, if it's well sculpted, to pick up little strands and areas to accentuate. So we want that highlight on top of the blade right there. We also want a secondary highlight down below, but not with pure white. So there we're going to reach for our secondary highlight here, our light gray that we've mixed with pretty much a 50-50 white and cloudy gray. You make yourself sound like kind of a spirit of the internet, Quindy. You're always floating around. A spirit of the Reaper internet. Like if we have like an avatar, is it Quindy? Like you're plugging to be the soul of Reaper there. I don't know if I'd want that job. All right, so we've got a secondary highlight on the bottom of the blade there. It kind of blends in, so let me see. Do I have a... There. I have a Fungal Queen card. That'll show it. All right, so yeah, just a little bit of a highlight on the bottom side of the blade there. And I'll bring it up a little bit more toward white because I want it to stand out a little, but I still don't want it ever to hit pure white on the underside. If I had, there are some people who will tell you to do a white line around the entire blade, and Sergio's one of them. It can work. It kind of, for me, it really depends though. And I tend to like to go for a light gray and not a white. If you have a blade that's held vertically up and down, then I would say, yeah, go for the pure white around the entire edge because you really don't have an inside or outside there. You don't have but here she's holding it out. You're definitely going to have a brighter light on the top of the blade and a less intense light on the bottom of the blade. So, poltergeist. Yes, this makes sense now. We won't exorcise you. There we go. Now I've got to figure out, because I've got this blade here, my highlight at the center of the blade really should kind of peek toward the middle. So here's where I need some fine brush control to bring up a highlight right at the center of the blade, that shift down the middle. See, now look at this, and this shows you that it's working. But suddenly this area looks like it's angled, right? This just looks like kind of a flat or rounded blade. Even though it's sculpted with an angle, it looks flat or rounded, doesn't it? But here, suddenly you can see that angle. And all it took was that extra highlight. You guys see that? So that's like the magic of highlighting and how you can like accentuate shapes that are there or minimize them. Like this is how you use paint to do paint plastic surgery and kind of like make a model's nose come out a little bit more if it's really kind of just not there in the molding or things like that. Is you know how to accentuate features with light and shadow. So as you develop your painting knowledge, see, as I continue that, you really start to see the shape of the blade. good that my brush wants to do micro detail today. I'm going to have to figure out how to utilize that later. When my superpower is active. Some days are like that. Like, some days you're going to just want to paint and you're going to be so frustrated because it's just not working. Your hand is not working, the paint hates you, and it's all just an exercise in frustration. On those days, just prep a model or base coat. Just do something that keeps you in your hobby, that does not require fine motor. But on the days like today, when I can hit tiny details accurately, I'm going to look for a model that I'm working on that needs that, and I'm going to work on that. So maybe I'll work on Noel a little bit, because she has all those braids in her hair that I want to start working on. There, I wanted to touch up that lining as well. But yeah, hitting the fine details today is effortless for me. And you'll run into days like that as you work more and more on your brush control. And usually that's just painting. Hey, Carrie Michael, thank you. 16 months. Awesome. But yeah, you can get to a certain point of brush control just by painting. Beyond that, you need to actually try to get like super fine coordinated with it. To do it, you have to try to do it, and you have to fail at it, and then you get better at it the more you practice. And it's not just brush control, but mastering your paint consistency. Because if you don't have the right paint consistency, then your paint won't come off your brush the way you need it to. So it's a combination of understanding paint consistency and brush loading and unloading, combined with the fine motor coordination to get the results you want. I'm going to really sharpen up and white out the point here. Now that's starting to show up a bit better. And that sword's looking pretty darn good. And because you're painting around all these runes, there's a lot you don't have to do. I am going to put in a dark shadow underneath that middle area, though. You can see that I kept a shadow into the gold letters. So now I need to put a little bit of a shadow on the silver. So I'm going to grab my Death Knight Black here. And I'm going to bring up little highlights right next to that highlight down the center I did. I'm going to bring little shadows up on the other side, underside of the blade, just to make it a little darker. And I still have some of my cloudy gray if I need to if I make a kind of a glob and I need to do a smoother transition. But that's going to help. And our sword will look pretty darn cool. There we are. And I think I want a little bit of shadow down here. And a little bit here. There we go. And now when I look at her, yeah, that sword says done to me. So now everything on this side of the model is finished except for the little flowers. And back here, our sword looks good. I'm going to actually bring a little bit, I think. Oh, it's pretty good. Maybe a little bit more on the bottom highlight edge, actually. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit. And then we'll mix up our purple, finish the flowers in the hair, and then the only thing we will have left is going to be darkening the roots a little bit, and that should be very easy. We should be able to finish everything except the base today. And then we'll see if I have any inventive ideas for the base. If I don't, then I'll just finish the basing off screen. Just do a very basic treatment. Kind of like Pendrake suggested, only not using flock, but using my mixture, my turf mixture, to unless I get inspired. But there are so many other models that I want to paint right now that sometimes it's like that too. Sometimes you'll start out thinking, oh, I could do a cool base on this figure. But by the time you're done with the figure, you're like, you know, I really want to move on to this next figure. So don't make yourself follow through with the base if you're not feeling it when it's a model for you. Don't feel bad about it. Just move on to the next model. You can always go back if you want to put a better base on it if you're inspired. But, you know, we all have so many models, so many beautiful models in our collections that need paint that I will certainly not hold it against you if you decide to put a quickie base on a mini. I may hold it against you if you then decide to enter it in a competition. Then I may ask, you know, you could have done just a little bit more. But, you know, that's just me. And of course, if you enter the painters category at ReaperCon, basing is only 5% of that score. So putting a simple base that suits the environment on the model is absolutely okay. And I will not give you any crap about that. Not painting your base at all, I'll give you crap about that. Ah, yes, the 18th quarterly contest. Oh, it's a cave troll, huh? Should I go vote? Should I skew the vote? Let's see here. I'm only one lowly vote. Cave troll. Oh, it's that cave troll. Oh, there's a lot of them. Wow. Ooh, there's some cool ones, guys. If you haven't gone and looked at this, you need to. There are some really cool cave trolls on this competition. So just saying, I just went to look, and there are some really, really cool models. So you should all go and take a look at that. Just saying. Yeah, it's really, there's some nice ones. Like, they're just looking at I like a lot of there's some really cool color combos. I love trolls because you really can paint them any old way you want. All right, so flowers. Let's get these flowers going on. I just need some highlights with Icy Violet. But yeah, so definitely go over and vote for your favorite cave troll, guys. What's the prize, Quindy? As I mix up my Icy Violet and white. And I need my Kraken ink. Oh no! I think I actually have that in the other room. We'll just try to do without it. We'll try to be very precise so that we don't have to touch up anything. My little flower petals. Just need a little bit of a highlight. They really don't need a lot. But there just needs to be a little bit to bring them out. And I think I'm just going to use actually my Death Knight in the middle to accentuate that little button in the middle, and I'll make it white. Ooh, nice. So there's a lot of prizes. You know what you could buy with that? More paint. So be sure to enter the quarterly contest, guys. That's pretty cool. If you haven't already. There we go. So I put a little bit of Death Knight Black to make the flower stand out a little bit better. And then we'll use this and pick out the little petals. Ah, that was a little bit too strong on that highlight. Boom. Take it down. Oh, the sugar skull. Yeah, I saw that. I was kind of intrigued. But my workload right now is pretty high, trying to get my Patreon stuff squared away, and then next month is NaNoWriMo. So all of my extra time will be going to writing a book. Because book. And put a little highlight on here. There we go. And maybe I'll put it, actually I'll probably go yellow with that center. I just need to grab a yellow that works. I'm pretty sure my candlelight yellow is over here somewhere. Yeah, then the other flower. Busting right along here. Okay, nice. So that's a lot of chances to win some Reaper gift card goodness. Fantastic. Yeah, those are cool competitions. Those are cool things to paint. Online competitions are a great way to get kind of like your toe in the water if you're interested in competing. They're usually a lot more relaxed, and, you know, given it's also an excuse to learn to take better pictures of your stuff, which isn't really it's not that hard to get a decent picture. If you have a couple of like daylight lamps or a nice, a place where like there's a window, but it's actually not got direct sunlight coming through it, but there's a good amount of reflected light. You can use that. That can be a better lighting than any setup. I had that in my old house. My painting desk had its back to the window, and the window got the morning sunlight bouncing off the house across from me, which was a pale color. And so there was great indirect light, and it took the best photos, better photos than I could get with any of my lighting setups. So you do not need a fancy lighting setup to learn to take good pictures of your minis. Yeah, the skulls. Oh, nice. Interesting, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that does sound pretty cool, Quindy. Yes, I hope those of you who might have a little time before Halloween will enter that competition. But yeah, for pictures of your minis, you really just need even light, not super bright, and a neutral backdrop. I always tell people to use gray. Sometimes you can get away with a blue-gray. Sometimes, though, be careful, because some cameras will definitely adjust the white balance, warmth, coolness, depending on your backdrop color. That's why I've always felt that gray is the safest and gets me the best results. That's why I use a gray backdrop on stream, because it, to me, has always given me the best color representation. There we go. Now I need yellow. I think I want... There we go. I think I can do something with this. That might be too orange. I might just have to use my lemon yellow. A lot of my yellows are like hanging out in other areas because I was using them yesterday. Oh yeah, Carrie, that's cool. Hello, Robin. We're just talking about competitions that Reaper's running right now and how exciting they are. All right, that's probably not going to work. Too orange, yeah. I'm trying to make a yellow for my, oh, you know what might work now? Oh. The problem is I want a fairly strong yellow because the centers of these flowers are really tiny, but I'm going to just try lemon because the other yellows I have right here with me are just way too orange when it's compared to the yellow of the dress. So I'd have to dig out my clear yellow. But it's very hard to get a color to show up when it's this small, but that might be good enough. Yeah, I guess that's good enough. At least you can tell it's not white. At least in person you can, so that's my concern. If I can dig out my canary or my clear, I'll apply that too. But that will work. All right, our flowers are taken care of. And now we are finally to the tree. And again, remember, I'll be streaming on my own stream this afternoon around 4 p.m. USA Central Time. And there is no Reaper Live tonight. But we'll hang out and work on a chibi werewolf. It'll be fun. And kick back and probably do some fur technique, obviously. So that'll be fun. I always find fur very fun to paint. I do not need swamp green. I need ancient oak. There it is. Ancient oak with a little bit of walnut or black and brown in it. Just a touch to add a little bit of extra weight and coverage to that ancient oak. You could also add a touch of pure black if you want to. I tend to like to mix dark greens and dark browns to get a really organic color. So do what you like. Whatever suits your painting style. So I'm about 3 drops of ancient oak, 1 drop of black and brown here, just to give it a little bit more weight. And I'm going to thin it down, probably a 4-to-1, maybe to a 2-to-1. Depending on how much coverage I've got. So I'm going to first add 1 drop of water and kind of assess, looking at how it falls off the side of the palette. It's actually really, really still opaque. If I pull it over here, it's really still opaque. That's good. I'm not sure I want it any more see-through though, so I think I'm going to stick with that. And see if I can do a thin enough line with that. Because that's the thing, is when you're thinning your paint, you're trying to get to the point where you can do a thin enough line while still having decent coverage. Because when I want to make sure that these lines down at the roots are less sketchy, that means a lack of coverage will give me more sketchiness. Reaper Live needs a vacation every once in a while. It's important. It's important to have a break every once in a while. All right, so let's get these little roots just a little darker. And I'm really happy that my freehand superpower is working today, because this is exactly the sort of thing where you want your fine motor coordination to be tippy-top as you go over these super fine lines. But they always do stuff that's silly. What's the difference, Nomad Zeke? So I can definitely do a very thin line. With this darker color. It may even be a little too solid compared to the other stuff. So I'm going to just add a tiny bit of water. Tuning it until I get the effect that I want. I'm super jealous of David. He has tomorrow off. His company gives him random days off just to detox ever since the pandemic started, I think. To combat burnout. I guess I could take my own day off, but I just had a bunch of days off, so I'm just like, eh. Whoa, Colin's running Reaperland. I don't know. That sounds like a recipe for crazy. Collins is always hilarious. So just as an aside today, I'm using my DaVinci Maestro Series 10, size 1. You can see how this is the brush that let me paint all those tiny leather texture bits on my Soldier 76 statue. It's a very, very good fine detail brush. Probably the best fine detail brush I own when it comes down to it. Like, it's really, really excellent. Hashtag to use to post the pictures with the graveyard entryway on Facebook. That's a Quindy question. Painterly Git. Give us a second. I bet Quindy can find out the answer for you if she does not know. That's our mod, Quindy. Hashtag Reaptober. REAPTOBER. Thanks for asking. There we go. Got to get these roots sketched in. This is actually crisping them up nicely, so I'm really... You're welcome. I'm quite happy with this. Oop, blurfed it just a little bit there, but that's fine. I do like this tree design a lot. It's really pretty. And it's nice to do freehand every once in a while. I can't say I'm afraid of heights. As long as there's enough area around me, I'm not afraid of heights. When we climbed the volcano, when we climbed Mauna Kea, there was a guy who stalled out. He was like, I cannot go up anymore. You guys can go on ahead. He's just like, I will stand here. The view is still good, and there's enough dirt around me for me not to notice how tall I am in the air. But there we go. Getting this all nice and solid. You can see how wispy the edge still looks without that nice dark line. But now we've got nice solid roots down here. You can barely get on a step stool. No climbing Mauna Kea for you then. Although, you know, if you drive up to it, up to the visitor center, it's only at like 9,000 feet. And you can still be on top of the clouds and watch the sunset. You just get a much better view when you climb up the Sunset Trail. There we are. Yay! Awesome. I want a little bit more lemon yellow to go over my white here that I didn't quite cover over. I think I need just a little bit of Dungeon Slime on top of that as well. Where is my Dungeon Slime? Dungeon Slime. Nope, wrong color. Right color. I have some green and some yellow. 9,000 feet is a lot. Yes, yes it is. Even for me. And I like mountains in general. But the road going down, I swear, like, you're climbing it and your car is definitely having its moments. And going down, it's like you're constantly on the brakes. They say that you have to have, like, they do not want you to go up to the summit. You can make it gravel roads, but on the way down, like, you must have four-wheel drive or you will burn out your brakes. And on a mountain, that is bad news. So they have a lot of cautionary advisements. There we go. There. Oh my gosh. Yeah, those are creepy. Like, I don't like things with glass floors either. Freaks me out. No thanks. All right, so we touch that up. I see one side of the tree I need to fix. But this is looking very nice. I'm very happy with it. And actually, I could do a little bit of a highlight here on this purple a little bit better before the end of the stream. But yeah, I think it's at the House on the Rock in Wisconsin where it's got a really long, narrow needle that comes off the top that you can walk in. It's a walkway, but it's glass on the bottom. And it's like, no effing way. Not my idea of fun. And it moves in the wind. Wee. There we go. A little bit more here. I'm happy. All right. Let's get that yellow or that little bit more purple highlights in on this stuff here. We got the time, we may as well do it. And then I'll paint the base all black and dark green in preparation for throwing some stuff on it. I used to just gravel and static grass everything, and it looked okay, but these days I like to suit the groundwork more to the personality of the figure. I think she's definitely in a forest type environment, so leaf litter and stuff would be good. A little bit of a higher highlight on the purple here will help to make details stand out. I need a line there. Going through and doing some re-highlighting can also like point out places where you forgot to line and stuff like that. Again, a model with a lot of detail like this, it's pretty easy to just miss a spot. So there. So that made those wraps really stand out better. How does static grass type stuff work when it gets dusty? So like, you mean after you put it on the base? I mean, just blow it off. Just blow it. Really a lot of air. Be fine. Like, or even canned air if you have a can of that once it's stuck on. But I mean, static grass is pretty good. I mean, I use it still for details on a lot of bases. Do I have an example? Not currently. We haven't been doing a lot of static grass on bases. I did some on half work. But she's out in the other case now, so she's not as easy to grab and discourse about. All right, let's do that line up there. Yeah, normally, I mean, I like static grass. I just like it. I like when you kind of trim it and use it appropriately for the basing. I used to just stick tufts wherever, and I'm more selective about how I do it now to make it look a little better. But I mean, static grass and some sand or gravel or mix is a very good fast basing thing to do for like adventuring party members and like armies. Like it can look very good and makes everything look like it belongs in the same area with each other. Just going to grab a little bit of this liner, bring in my shadows a little bit more here, add a darker line. This is a good time to touch up lining if I see anywhere that I missed it, like I just did. Now that's all crisp. Alrighty, up a little bit more. And again, just like bringing in when I see like areas where I'm like, oh, I forgot to line between these little thingies. It'll make them look better if I do line. Makes everything come out a little bit better. There we are, guys. Let's paint the, there's my solid, there's my pure black. I'm gonna paint the edge of the base. Actually, I'm gonna kind of pull her up and off. My blue stuff, this particular blue tack is very tenacious. I've started mixing it with other blue tacks because it is very goopy. Different poster putties are going to have different qualities. You can see how stringy this one gets. And that's annoying. So usually I'll grab, say, mounting putty, and I will mix it with this goopy stuff. The goopy stuff is nice and sticky, and that's nice, but trying to get it off of things is really a pain in the butt, as you can see. Even trying to get it off of my little groups of my figure holder is difficult. So if you have a putty like this where it is really difficult to get it off of surfaces. Yeah, we had to go white, Dorving, because her skin was so dark. So when you do a dark skin, if you really want the viewer to look, you know, the focus to be right for the model, which usually you do want to focus on the face, you need to put usually something light up there to introduce contrast so that you can draw the view up to the face. So that the face is not just this massive dark and the rest of the model is really light, especially because we were going with yellow. So we needed to be able to shift the focal point up that high. So going with a greenish white hair was the answer for me. Yeah, I think I'm going to get a sticker there for a second. She's still got a little bit of goop on her. We'll move her down so you guys can stare at her for a bit while I try to grab some mounting putty to mix this with so that I can regain my sanity and have a poster putty that is not fighting me. But yeah, different types of blue tack definitely have different consistencies. So experiment with different kinds. Some of them also degrade a little bit over time and get more stringy. So be aware of that as well. I'm just going to grab some of my more firm blue tack and mix it into this. Mounting putty is a good mixer though, because it's a gray stuff. It typically is not nearly as sticky, but it has a lot of strength to it. So mixing that with your really goopy blue tack is a good tactic. It tends to correct both. You get more stickiness on the mounting putty and you get less goopiness and stringiness off of the blue tack. So here I'm using a slightly lighter blue tack that is a lot like mounting putty to mix into my existing dark blue tack, which is the goopy stuff. It'll end up, you can see the different strings of each thing in there, but it's a lot less stringy. And hopefully now, when I come in to grab this off, I can pull it off a lot easier. See, I can. There we go. I just got that big goop off of there. So that is your technique. If you use blue tack, but your blue tack's gone quite stringy, get some mounting putty or a type of blue tack that's different, that's not as stringy. Kind of keep the packaging of the ones you buy too, and make a note, you know, like, hey, this is really sticky. This one isn't sticky enough, you know, that kind of thing. So there, now I've gotten all my blue tack off with a minimum of effort. And I bet I can even get this off now. Yeah, it's trying to pull it out of there. Since it's in the grooves there, it might take a little bit of work. I might have to actually pull it out with a knife and then come in. Maybe not though. But you can see how that's actually quite simple. You just have to kind of be tenacious at it to try to pull it out of there. I've got most of it. And with a little bit of effort, I could get the rest of it out. It's almost all out now. Yep, see? Kind of twist it, pull it so that you're pulling at it from different directions to pull it out of those little grooves. This is a useful thing to know too when you are working with models where you're blue tacking the arms on, for example, because they aren't attached in your testing position. So we can use a knife, we can pull up those little bits and then get that last bit. Yeah, for sure. I mean, these guys probably take me, I don't know, I'd have to count up the streams, but an average, like, figure, like we've been finishing lately, of a human size that's of a decent level of complexity, these will run me 8 to 12 hours, 15 if it's, like, if I do a lot of freehand or something, you know, complex on it. So, yeah, I mean, for a very simple model, like this Knoll Pirate, for example, he's going to be like an 8-hour paint probably. He's not going to be that long. But for a more complex model like this dude or like this Warlock that we just started, he's got a lot of stuff on him. So he's going to take a while. Same as Lysette. Pardon me while I stuff everybody back where they belong. There we go. The extra 0.5 inch. Funny. The sword, Jack the Maniac, this is actually not freehand. It's actually sculpted on the model. However, this is freehand as far as the tree and the flowers, the plants and flowers on the interior here. So the robe is all freehand, the sword is not. The sword is actually sculpted on. I actually prefer swords not to have the details sculpted on for runes, but this one turned out okay. Same thing with the scabbard here. That's also sculpted on. So part of it is that it's a kick-ass sculpt from Bobby Jackson, and part of it is me saying, hey, let's put some freehand on this mini. But yeah, as far as like time to paint, yeah, to paint to a decent standard for me, usually 8 to 12 hours, 15 if it's like a really complicated or slightly larger figure. If I'm doing a lot of freehand or textures, that will, you know, impact things for sure. And if I'm doing like a display base on it, if I'm sculpting a base and then painting it, doing extra basing absolutely takes up extra time, depending on how complicated the base is. So that is definitely a thing. Now that I have this blob of putty not sticking to anything overtly, I will pop her on there just a little bit, just to paint the outside of the base and around her feet. Oh, the Lysette is, yeah, she's the best interpretation yet, and she's, you know, I mean, Werner did a good job interpreting Izzy's original art on Lysette, and Bobby, but the Bobby revisit is really, really nice. So, generally just an iconic character that's been in the Reaper line for a while, and this is a great sculpt for her. Was a pleasure to paint. Definitely was the right model to pick to launch the Bones USA line. Yeah, the dress is a good surface to practice freehand on, as you can tell. It doesn't have a lot of deep folds. The folds are quite shallow, making freehand very accessible on this. And it's not a ragged surface like Mr. Dude here. Doing any freehand on ragged robes really doesn't work very well, unless it's just textures. So we're just going to use our last few minutes to block in some dark green here, where I'm going to put in some mounded turf and vegetation instead of these cobblestones, just to keep with the wood elf kind of feel. And we'll start Darius next time. We're starting a lot of new models lately. They just seem to go that way. And tomorrow for Friday, it's Bronze Golem Friday. So we base coated his hands last time. So we're going to do our weathering on his fists. We're going to build up our washes on one and then on the other, and so that this one can dry while we have the other one building. And then I'll try to do kind of a battered look around the heads of both rams. There's definitely a way where we can do that. So we'll experiment to find the best tools for that technique. And we'll bring down all the detail here and bring it out with like washes, and just like we've been working the verdigris on the underside, just like all that. We'll be working on all of that all at once. So that is our topic for tomorrow. So if you like Bronze Golem, be there or be square. I will be complaining because David will be off work, and he has already warned me that he may photobomb my stream. So that's the problem with having a separate room now, where he and I have separate offices, where the gaming where our hobby room is separate from my office, is that he can't sit with me and paint during my stream and interject his opinions. This could be a plus, come to think of it. But you guys don't get free David advice anymore. Ooh. Let's see. Yeah, this was all me. Like, he just pushed me to he wanted me to get a bigger diamond, which I was like, well, I'm not comfortable getting anything above here. You know what? That's true of everything, though, Jake. Like, the way you know that you are getting better is that you realize how much there is still to know. And that's true even of expert people. I mean, that's true of freaking Neil deGrasse Tyson and every other expert on the planet. If they are a, enlightened human being, they understand that the more you learn, the more you understand there is to learn. So, first of all, give yourself some cred. You're probably better than you think you are. And, two, yeah, you're not alone. There we go. Well, if you want to see how I mapped out these two different types of freehand, you can always go back and watch. Reaper's YouTube has all of the old shows. So if you search for the SKU number, which is in this case 30,001, really easy to remember, you'll be able to find the episodes where I did the freehand here and how I did it, like how I mapped it out and stuff. And this, we did a connect the dots approach to take a design I found on the internet and transfer it onto this. So if you are looking to do freehand, guest starring David. That's okay, Fry. I didn't have it. I'm not at Reaper anymore. Like, I work for Reaper on stream, so I'm still an employee. But I moved to California to be with David, so I'm not in the paint department anymore, so I couldn't make any special paints for ReaperCon this year. I thought about maybe coming in, asking Ed if it's okay for me to come in a day early, and get a special paint color put together for next year. We'll see. But yeah, okay, so I've got that dark green blocked in there, and I'm going to grab my black and just do the bottom of the base, get it all set up. I like black rims on my bases, so normally I'll paint them that way, just like I did on this guy. Even if just because I tend to like the black plastic base rim. I always have. I feel it's like a picture frame for me. It just kind of sets off the model because it doesn't fight with it. And the model always kind of springs out of that black because the black itself is so, it just pulls the eye away from it. So. Solo road trips are fun. I hope she had a good time doing the drive, Twisted Noma. Especially when I was younger, I really enjoyed road trips. All right. Get that blocked in. Oh, cool. I'm glad to hear it, Fry. Yeah. This year I was a little bit more like, I was having issues keeping normally they staple them for me. Next year I'll have to staple them because, I was having trouble sorting out all my sheets. But other than that, it went pretty well, so I can be forgiven because we had a year off. I was out of my groove. I'm glad you had a good time entering, though. I feel like it really is one of the friendliest and most accessible competitions. And everybody has fun and everybody cheers for each other, and that's makes it a cool community thing, and I really appreciate that part of it. And we have definitely one of the biggest award ceremonies as far as the number of people because everybody attends. Like, I remember years at Gen Con where I would walk into the room where they were going to announce the winners, and it was this tiny venue and there was just nobody there. Even at Crystal Brush, like, it was just a tiny number of people. And at ReaperCon, we fill the hall. And that means a lot to me, and I think a lot to the people who enter as well. So thank you, everybody, for cheering on your friends. And even you're not friends yet. Everybody becomes friends eventually, but cheering on everybody who entered. It's really important. I really enjoy competition painting, so I like that there's a competition out there that is not too stressful, that is really friendly, because it makes me hope that more people will get interested in doing competition. Cool. All right, it's got that on there. I always do the bottom too because I sign the model, usually with a white paint. I'm just waiting for Bobby Jackson's signature to get bigger than the Reaper minis, by the way. He'll take the big name author road, right? Because that's what they say. That's where the saying "big name author" comes from, by the way. Just in case you didn't know, is when your name on the book cover becomes bigger than the book's title. That's the actual, that's where it actually comes from. So I was just waiting for Bobby Jackson's name on the bottom to get bigger than the RMP miniatures. RMP Incorporated. Then he'll be a big name sculptor. I thought it was pretty hilarious when I heard Quindy. Because one of my instructors at the Viable Paradise Writers Workshop explained that to me because he had just managed it. He just like, look, I'm a big name author finally. And he held up his book and his name was huge and the title was smaller. So it was a thing. Oh. Yeah, see, that seems a little excessive. My mother ceased to worry about me road tripping a long time ago, I think. Maybe that's just because she has backups now. My brother has, kids, and now she has grandkids. She doesn't need to worry about me as much. She can worry about them because they're learning to drive and going off to college, doing things like that. Far more risky than, like, me in my 40s taking a drive to wherever. Yeah, right, Kirst. Well, that's why you don't stop on the darkest secluded road. I don't think there's that many of those either. I think that the urban legend is bigger than the reality. I could be wrong. But I stick to highways. Alrighty. Mostly because, with my things, I need to find stops and food that actually are on diet, so. Yeah, it happens. You can let it terrify you into not doing stuff, or you can do stuff and try to, make sure that you are safe. But, there's random crap that happens to everybody, and my medical issues taught me that, like, anything can happen to you at any time, and nothing is guaranteed. So just do the best you can with what you got. Alrighty, where we are, she's drying, but her base is dry, so I can set her down and we can look at the almost finished without grass product. There we are. There is a Lysette. Yeah, I mean, for me it was medical. Wasn't even anything, it was just out of the blue. Yay! And there we are, yeah. Let's turn around. We have finished another mini, and I have Darius already prepped. So for those of you who don't know what Darius looks like, I have actually, it's another book, so we'll do another book. And it's actually a bigger book than the Crimson Herald. So we will be subbing in Darius, which is 30,002. And I love his little rat, so we're going to have fun. So yeah, so we'll have fun with him. He's got multi-layered clothes too, so a lot of different layers of cloth. So we can talk about some freehand, maybe some small pattern freehand on him. Yeah, that's what we're gonna work on next. So stay tuned, everybody, for, I guess this will be next Friday. We'll start Darius. But yeah, so there we go. I hope you all had a lovely day. I will be online on my own Twitch channel on twitch.tv/paintingbig later today at 4 p.m. USA Central Time to work on Chibi Werewolf and hang out with you guys. And then, yeah, I guess there's no Reaper Live tonight, but we do have Crafty Creative on, so do stay tuned, okay? And yeah, that is what we got. I like the little rat. We'll have to figure out how to paint him. So, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I hope you had fun. Who are we raiding today? Okay, Michael Mortar. Oh, fun. Okay, cool. All right, guys. Say hi to Michael and hang out. And I hope to see a bunch of you on my stream this afternoon. All right? See you later. Bye-bye.